Well, hey there, how's it going? Welcome back to RimWorld. It's been a while. This will be my first video in a brand new RimWorld series on the channel. First one using the BioTech expansion, so I'm really looking forward to this. As usual with the other runs, I'll try and reach some sort of end state in this series, which will either be blasting off the planet or being eaten by boars, I think it was. But this time around I'll try and do the Empire stuff, so I want to go up some noble ranks and get really high ranks with the Empire, and then hopefully leave the planet using their ship, since I haven't done that before. That's the goal. Whether or not we get there is another matter, of course, but we'll try. If you're new to the channel, welcome, my name's Mew. In RimWorld I tend to do themed runs, and this one will be no different. We're going to be a bunch of desert vampires, that's the vibe I'm going for. I'm going to use this video just to talk about the theme, and also to go through the settings, the setup, the world gen, the ideology, all the kind of pre-game stuff. And then that'll be that. The next video in this series will be the actual gameplay, so if you just want to get straight to the gameplay, feel free to skip this video and go straight to episode 1, that's fine, I don't mind. As for the rest of you, stick around now while I click the new colony button. Very exciting. Alright, so first thing we got to do is pick a scenario. I'm going to go with Sanguophage. This is one of the new scenarios added in the BioTech expansion, so yep, we'll grab one of those. Also, I really want to do vampire stuff. This should let us get started on vampire stuff pretty early. After that we need a Storyteller, and I'm going to go back to Cassandra. I feel like the predictable rate at which she inflicts action on you is a bit more conducive to a video playthrough, to be honest. When I played with Randy, it was, sometimes interesting, and other times it felt like there were long stretches of time where he didn't do anything, so, I guess that is part of being random, but doesn't always give you much to talk about, I'll also play on Blood and Dust again, which is very fitting for this colony. I haven't played in a while, so I don't feel confident going up a difficulty level again just yet. And during gameplay, as always, I'll abide by Iron Man rules and I won't save scam anything. But I'll leave on reload anytime mode just in case the save file gets corrupted 60 episodes into the series, I don't really want to take any chances with that sort of stuff with a series playthrough. And if you've watched any of my other series, you know that I tend to get a lot of colonists killed, and an awful lot of animals killed as well, which I don't feel good about, but it is what it is, I suppose. Next up we have the world gen stuff. Most of this stuff I've left completely normal, I believe. I can't remember if the seeds I've been using have been itsmu or itsmu, but in this one we're going with itsmu 4. My create world screen might look a bit different from yours if you're playing vanilla RimWorld. I do have a few mods installed. The vast majority of the mods that I have installed just make the game look a bit prettier, or change the actual layout of the world. And one of those is a big set of mods called Regrowth, which I think changes this screen as well. Gives you more control over things. But I've ignored all that and just kept the settings pretty average anyway. Don't see a point messing around with it, that's fine. We are going to look for a desert tile though, and specifically a desert tile with an oasis in it, which is something you can do thanks to the geological landforms mod, I believe, which makes map tiles really interesting and varied. So the vibe we're going for is like a little fortress built in the desert around an oasis. It's ruled over by a small group of vampires with a vast army of thralls. That's going to be the theme. We'll see if it works out. While the world's baking, this might be a good time to actually look at the mods I've got installed, because there's quite a few at this point. I'll do it on this screen though, because I think it's a bit clearer on this screen than on the loading screen. But yeah, I'll just let it scroll through. You can take a look. The vast majority are either to change how the game looks a little bit, or just expand the UI. In general, I've tried to avoid any mods that significantly change the gameplay or the behaviour of pawns and things, because I'm still relatively new to RimWorld, so I don't really see much point messing around with stuff like that, to be honest. I do have a handful of small mods though that do things like add some extra ideology memes, add a few little extra pieces of furniture. There's even one mod in there that literally just adds a sofa. I mean, that seemed fine to me. Pretty useful addition, Oh, I also added a mod called Stranger Danger, which just means that you can no longer see what enemy traits are. At least not until you recruit them, if you recruit them. I thought that was quite interesting because it means you can no longer do the scummy thing in the in the later portions of the game when you kind of inspect all of the raiders and see if anyone's good enough to stun to make sure that you can capture them. To go along with that, I've also added a mod that increases the number of traits as well. It's a little mod, I think it's called Bundle of Traits. So we won't know what any of the enemy traits are, and there'll also be more of them. It should be kind of fun. And yeah, we'll be starting in the desert this time. I've picked out a nice little spot for us. I want to do noble stuff, I want to do empire stuff. So I wanted to start near a couple of empire settlements, and we have 3 nearby here, which is pretty cool. We're also quite close to a road and a bunch of other settlements as well, so nice little spot in the Bakamsa Desert near the Toxo Sea. Why not? You can see as well there on the bottom left, landform oasis. Yeah, that's part of the geological landforms mod. I think it'll be cool having a little fortress built around an oasis in the desert. I suppose rock might be a bit hard to come by, but well, we'll see what happens. After that is the Ideoligion. Yeah, I wanted to do a vampire-centric colony, so it's going to be very different from the previous colony that I did, which was very kind of happy and loving and charitable, if, you know, a bit culty. We'll go in the complete opposite direction this time. In general, I find a lot of the, how do I put it? A lot of people seem to enjoy doing very bad things in RimWorld. Is that fair to say? Personally, I find a lot of that stuff kind of distasteful. I find it kind of, I think it's because I treat my colonists like real little people that I'm looking after and making a nice home for them, you know. So the idea of just, you know, imprisoning people and harvesting their organs and stuff, it's just not for me, you know, it's just not my vibe. But we'll try and lean into a little bit of that stuff a bit more in this colony since, you know, we're a bunch of evil vampires, right? I'm gonna do some of that. So our style is esoteric with a little bit of morbid as well. I originally took the supremacist and blood-feeding memes since they made the most sense. We are going to be a bunch of vampires who think they should rule over everybody else. After that, darkness seemed to make, you know, sense to me. And those 3 memes are all default ones from the base game. I felt like I should at least add in one from the mods that I've got installed. So I threw in aristocratic, which I think also makes sense, right? You got a bunch of vampires who think they deserve to rule over a huge underclass of thralls. Aristocratic sounds about right. So I gave them a suitably sort of pretentious name and description there. We are the Covenant of Lightless Stars. Yeah, so we'll have a sort of insular, bigoted cadre of vampires who are slavers. They don't like doing dumb labour. They crave power, and yeah, blood feeders are revered. In the previous colony, I made sure to always take every single charity quest and try to fulfill it. I think in this playthrough I'll do the opposite, and anybody who comes looking for charity will immediately try to enslave them. Which sounds cruel just saying that. I don't know how you people play this way, but you know, we'll give it a go, why not? Besides that, what else? I mean, we desire skull spikes. We don't care about execution. Or cannibalism is acceptable, which makes sense because we already drink blood. I mean, why not, right? Violence is acceptable, organ use is acceptable, all the fun stuff. Roles are also a bit pretentious as well. Our leader will be the Lightless Sovereign, Moral Guide is the Shadow Reader, Melee Specialist is the Fang, and Shooting Specialist is the Undead Eye because I couldn't help myself. And you can see the rest there. We've got some festivals, some buildings. Relics are pretty fun. We have a Persona Monosword called Nosferatu, and a Golden Spear called Deep Bite. And I also threw in a Dominions reference as well for the Dominions viewers. We have the Sickle whose crop is pain as one of our relics. We also think piercing weapons are noble and blunt weapons are despised. I don't know how much impact that'll have, but you know, it seemed to make sense to me that vampires would favour piercing melee weapons, right? We venerate cats, because why not? And that's about it. So that's it for the ideology and such. Then it comes to our starting colonists. Now, the way I visualize the colony is it's a small group of vampires in this big desert fortress, and they're ruling over a huge number of thralls. Like, ideally we have like 8 vampires and 60 thralls or something crazy, I don't know. It's like, that's my dream anyway. I don't know if that's possible in the game, or how, I mean, I don't know how slaves work, right? I imagine they would rebel quite a bit if it was that bottom heavy, but question remains, how will I decide who gets to be a vampire and who remains a slave? Well, I thought, I don't know if this is going to be too restrictive or not, but I guess I'll find out. But basically, if we ever recruit a colonist who's particularly good, they have to have either a double burning passion in social or a double burning passion in intellectual. And if they have that, they can become a vampire. Everyone else just gets turned into a thrall though. So with that in mind, I'm going to filter our 2 starting colonists. I'm going to make sure we get 2 starting colonists who have 2 stars in social or 2 stars in intellectual. Besides that though, they'll be completely random, so I'll just take the first 2 random colonists we get. And once the colony gets going, yeah, the only people who get to become vampires need to have a double burning passion in one of those skills. Maybe art as well, if it ends up being too restrictive, I don't know. But that's the plan. There may be special exceptions as well. If a thrall happens to particularly distinguish themselves, doing something valorous or what have you, maybe they'll become vampires as well, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I rolled these guys. This is what we get. We have one colonist who is a volatile psychopath, basically just loves shooting and melee. Besides that, he's got the double in social and a bit of animals and medical. So he should at least be able to keep us safe early on and maybe recruit some people early as well, I don't know, we'll see. And our second colonist is a vulgar, careful shooting Keonophile. Apparently that means he loves the snow, which probably it's not going to be particularly relevant in our desert, but hey, you never know. Might get a forced weather event, who knows. Besides that, he enjoys intellectual, medical, cooking, and shooting. Now, notably absent from either of our colonists are any skill in construction or plants or anything like that, so we might struggle a little bit early on. But, you know, I'm sure they'll make up for what they lack in skills with joie de vivre, which I'm sure is something they'd say. Anyway, here's our map tile. Quite barren, with the exception of our lovely oasis in the middle. Which, you know, actually has a bit more growable soil than I thought it would. Although, still probably not enough as the game goes on. Looks quite nice there, doesn't it? You've got these nice grasses and tree effects. I think a lot of that is from the regrowth mod. Stones look a bit more interesting. There's like a scattered stones mod I've got and stuff like that. I think it looks nice anyway. Right, next videos will be live commentary instead of this post commentary I'm doing. But before we end this video and get to gameplay, there's one more order of business to do, which is renaming our vampire colonists after some of my patrons. So, if you are one of my patrons, there is a post up on the Patreon if you want to be turned into a vampire. You can let me know which name you'd like me to use. As for the rest of you, I might turn commenters into thralls, I'm not sure yet, it depends how many we end up with. But I'm going to leave this video here. Next time you hear my voice, there'll be actual gameplay. Should have uploaded episode 1 at the exact same time as this video, so you can go check that out right away, no delay. But for now, that's it for me, so thanks for watching, hope you enjoy it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.